Good evening, people. Welcome to this video. And it seems over the last couple of weeks I've had a horror marathon. Now, horror's not my genre. I've said that for years and years, but October I get into it more than I do usually. And when we left August, I thought we were in October, so I watched one of the Freddy films. I watched... What did I watch? Shit. I watched Trick or Treat and something else. I forgot what it is. It doesn't matter. But then I carried on watching them because the nights are getting darker earlier. Like it goes dark at 8 o'clock at night now as opposed to 10 o'clock. And I've just carried on watching horror films. I didn't realise that I'd watched so many. I've watched maybe 10. It wasn't until I'd watched like the 9th or 10th film I realised to myself, you watched a lot of horror films over this last couple of weeks. It's kind of a marathon. You should have made some videos during that marathon. Well, yes, I should, but I didn't. I'll probably carry on watching horror films. We get into October, but it's kind of a horror marathon, but it's not really. I'm just watching them and watching them. But I watched a handful of them. And I thought I'd share them because people like horror films. I like horror films more than I ever have done. But in this marathon, that's not a marathon. These are in no real order. But I watched Nosferatu the Vampire. Still a film that is full of atmosphere and dread and a nightmarish quality to it. I really like it. I watched also, from this set, I watched The Shining. I like The Shining. I like the last maybe 20 minutes or so when Jack goes mad. Because Jack Nicholson going mad is one of the finest things you will ever see. I enjoyed the rest of the film. It's a great setup. Everyone knows it. But the last 20 minutes or so when he actually goes, ooh, it's kind of, that's fun. Then I watched that, which is very, very good. I've always liked this. I don't care for any of the sequels, but this one, yeah, it's horrible to watch, but that's what makes it good. Then I watched The Thing from Another World from 1951, I think it is. Yeah, John Carpenter's The Thing, pretty much the same thing, but the monster's different. And I think I prefer this one. I really do. It's the same kind of setting, but I think I do prefer this one. Then I watched Dracula Prince of Darkness, the one where Christopher Lee doesn't speak. There was no dialogue, or it was so bad he refused to speak, whichever one were. When you consider the Dracula films he made later on, like, is it possible for the dialogue to be worse than in some of them films? I don't know, it doesn't really matter, but it does take a little bit away from it, and the way he dies at the end is kind of lame. But I've always liked Father Sandor in the kind of Peter Cushing role. And it was the first Hammer film I ever saw, the first Dracula film I ever saw. So I have a soft spot for it, and I still enjoy it to this day. Then I watched a TV film, Count Dracula, an old BBC TV film with the guy playing Dracula was Kamal Khan from Octopussy. What I read is the most accurate to the book. And it's not bad, but it's very BBC from the day, you know. The look of the sets, the vibe of the sets, kind of like the old TV show, like the old Doctor Who's from the 70s. And that TV show, I, Claudius, and then a little bit later on in the 80s, you know, the Chronicles of Narnia that the BBC did. It's, when they're indoors, it's all that kind of feel like you know you're on a set. But I didn't mind it. It was okay. It wasn't anything amazing, but it was okay. Then I watched, but I've watched this. The Reptile. This is a Hammer film set in this little village. And there's a creature. And it's just a girl in a dress with a mask on. But I love Hammer films. They're comfortable to watch. The set design, everything's great. And I like the people in this. Michael Ripper's in this. He's in a lot of Hammer films. But yeah, it's fun to watch. I also watched another Hammer film. Well, the third Hammer film. Dracula has risen from the grave. My favourite Hammer films are the Dracula films, despite the fact that they're all the same. It's still enjoyable, and I enjoyed that one. I did. I like, you know, the little towns and the little taverns they have. Christopher Lee does speak, who has done this thing? And the way he dies, like, I like it. I always have liked it. Then we have Bram Stoker's Dracula, which has grown on me over the years. I like it a lot. It's got a great cast. You've got Keanu Reeves in it. But for Keanu Reeves, it balances out with Gary Oldman. And it balances it out having Hugh Grant in it. It balances out with having Anthony Hopkins in it. And yeah, I like this one a lot. Quite a lot, actually. Probably one of my favourites. And Gary Oldman, when he's in Dracula makeup and he's in his red robe, is very, very good. The wonderful Gary Oldman. Let me look at my list. Oh, and the last and possibly least would be 2024's Robert Eggers' Nosferatu. I watched this, and while watching it, it was fine. The days that have passed, what a disappointment. This film, I didn't care for it. And there's a couple of reasons why, actually a few reasons why. One, it didn't have any of the atmosphere and the vibe that I was hoping for, and that other people have said that it has. I didn't get that at all. It had no sense of dread, had none of that. Secondly, while it has some nice shots, some nice imagery, and the streets really nice, some of the outdoor scenes, especially at night time when you see the backgrounds, it looked like it's on a cheap ass green screen. It looks fake, and I didn't like that. But the biggest problem for me was Count Orlok. He had a moustache. I don't care if the reason he had a moustache was based in any kind of logic. I don't care. He looked goofy as hell with a bloody moustache. He looked more like a monster more than a man. Like Max Schreck looks like a man. Klaus Kinski looks like a man. This guy looked like a monster. I'm guessing Dracula is a monster, but it's a remake of Max Schreck's film where Max Schreck doesn't sound or look like this. His voice, I didn't care for. His accent and the language, I didn't care for. And in a Dracula film, for me, if you've got a shit Dracula, it kind of falls apart. If you've got a great Dracula, because he's the star, it's called Dracula. It's called Nosferatu. And it was just, I don't like how he looks. I don't like how he sounds. He's wearing his overcoat for most of the film. I didn't care for the way Count Orlok looked in this film. And I've come to the conclusion that Robert Eggers is an overrated director. I like The Witch. I think The Witch is a fine film, full of atmosphere. But The Northman I thought was shit. And The Lighthouse I thought was shit. And I tried to watch Nosferatu a second time a few days later. And I was fast forwarding certain bits. So Nosferatu 2024 is shit. But it's still better than the film I watched the day before, Nosferatu from 2023. Anyone know this exists? A sound remake of the 1922 film with awful actors. The guy playing Hutter was goddamn awful. It looks abysmal because they use green screen to put the backgrounds of the 1922 film into this film. And it's the same guy that did the exact same thing with the Cabinet of Dr. Caligari. He put the backgrounds of the 1920 film into his film. And it just looks so awful and so goddamn pointless that I don't know why you would ever do this. To do it once is abysmal, but to do it twice is fucking stupid as shit. So yeah, Nosferatu 2024, when I heard it was announced, Robert Eggers is doing it, I'm intrigued. Saw the first trailer, didn't do much for me. Heard people saying it's amazing, okay. Watched it, I didn't like it at all. Why watch that when you've got two other versions? So anyway, that's what I've watched in my little marathon. I've talked for probably 3 or 4 minutes longer than I wanted to, but hell, there we go. Comments are welcome. Good night.